That's what I'm talking about, baby.
I'm
Yes,
telling you,
sir.
bro. I need something to loosen the axles, re-grease the axles.
Get the power pumping, that juice. But how you been, man?
Ugh, tired. I tell you what, man. I thought I wasn't even gonna fall asleep. It's good
Crash.
that I got some, but damn, yeah, I could have stayed under for a couple more hours. But it's good that I woke up though, because I need to get a full night's sleep. I didn't do that last night. I I didn't. I think was this last night? I fell asleep at like fucking 8 or 9 without even meaning to, and I woke up at 2 when
Wow.
you called me.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and I tried going back to sleep, but then I ended up just waking up because I'm rolling in my. It's just shit over in my head. It's all I'm thinking about. So
All right. I mean,
um,
did I get in
so I
touch with
got
you
up
last
and
night? Did we talk?
you called me at 2 o'clock,
Oh my
and I was like, "Where
god.
the fuck am I?" Because I didn't expect to fall asleep, and it's
Oh,
like 2 in the morning. I'm like, "Oh fuck, where the fuck am I?"
you literally like, oh, where am I? What's going on? I was like, I don't know, bro. I was just trying to see what's up. I guess we got to figure this one out together. That's so funny, dude. Well, yeah, man. So how's I guess the pizza delivery business is booming, apparently. I don't know.
Oh, I gotta tell you, for this 24-hour period, I do not care.
Yeah, you got a little day off.
I'm not even thinking about it. As a matter of fact, my boss called me today. I never called her back. I forgot.
Wow. Well, there you go. They probably needed you, huh?
No, I think she's probably got something to say about the situation. She follows
Right.
my shit a little.
But I feel like delivery places, grocery stores, like streaming services, video game
For now,
sellers.
but they're all luxury or service economy stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah, my
um,
buddy told me that the
for now
Amazon,
everything's fine because people,
they want
huh?
to entertain themselves. They're not so aware of the crisis, the economic crisis. They're more like everybody's like shell shocked. Not like the works have kind of closed down and people are just. I think everybody's just really shell shocked right now, man. I think it's
Yeah,
gonna
the whole
take a
world is,
little
man.
while. Yeah, I think it's gonna take a minute where everybody's quarantined, locked in their house. I was riding my longboard downtown today, like nowhere's open. Never in my life before have I seen a situation like a whole
Well, it hasn't
city,
even started.
and that's what I'm
That's why
worried about.
when this all started, I was in Orlando, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been to Orlando many times, and there was still activity, but it was it was quite somewhat creepy.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures of New York, like New York Square right now. Not one person there. I've been to New York Square, and like it's 3 a.m. in the morning. That thing is packed. Not one
Huh.
person out. Yeah.
Um, you want to start, or do you have any
Yeah.
questions or anything?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I
I mean,
wanted to,
for no, yeah,
yeah. So I pretty much wanted to begin with the question, what is the petrodollar? Because I feel as though this crash
good.
in oil to crash what 20-30%. That's huge. And I want you to
Hmm.
explain to me what is the petrodollar? And
That's the
petro
best
meaning
question you could ask to start out. Great. Yeah.
petroleum, because I feel like that.
Are we recording?
Yeah, yeah, we were recording.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so the petrodollar system is an arrangement that we have with Saudi Arabia
Hmm.
that they've arranged with other OPEC nations. So, in the 1970s, 1971, President Nixon ended the gold standard, ended the Bretton
1971.
Woods system,
Yeah.
1971. And this, he closed the gold window because other states like France were trying to redeem their dollars for gold.
Hmm.
And in short, that was a problem for us. We
Hmm.
closed the gold window, and we then went on to what we have now, which is just the fiat monetary system backed by nothing, just backed by debt. So one of the things that we did to keep the dollar as the world reserve currency,
Yeah.
we set up a deal with the Saudis.
Mm-hmm.
We would keep them dominant in their region. They have a regional rivalry. It's between them and the Iranians, and
Right.
we will give them military support. And in exchange, when countries come to them to buy their oil, they accept payment for oil in U.S. dollars. So this
Ah.
created an artificial demand for U.S. dollars around the world.
Wow.
Um, so even though it wasn't tied to gold, countries would still have dollars in their reserves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now we're in the middle of an oil price war,
Right.
and that's why the price has crashed. It's why it's connected to everything from the yield curve being. But now the 10-year yield I believe is a little bit above 1%, but it's struggling to stay there, and the
Mm.
30-year yield is not much higher.
Wow.
So um, the petrodollar system is what we're defending right now. We defended it against Iraq, who wanted to use euros to purchase oil. Saddam Hussein wanted to use euros, and
Mm.
Muammar Gaddafi in Libya wanted to use Pan-African gold standard, was what he was
Ah.
trying to arrange in exchange
Wow.
for oil. And we ensured that that did not happen earlier in the year, or excuse me, I think this was last year. I had mentioned that if the United States invaded Venezuela, it would be to protect the petrodollar system. That didn't happen, but there were similar issues going on with Venezuela with Russians airlifting gold out of the country. They were having an oil crisis, and they've tried creating a cryptocurrency system actually,
Yeah.
um, where their currency would be backed by oil. I think oil and a couple other commodities. Whether it's actually backed by those things, I don't know. But um, that's basically what it is. It's just the dollar is indirectly backed by oil, so the price of oil has to remain stable,
Right.
and it's
And
not.
it's not.
OPEC nations right now, no, OPEC nations right now are halting production because the price has fallen so much, and they're trying to keep the price from cratering. So they've
Right.
actually cut back on production.
That's wild.
So yeah, it's
And
crazy. It's a
what are a
crazy
few?
environment.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I've in my life and even in our parents' lives, I don't think we've seen a situation like this for a few
We have not.
generations. We haven't seen anything
No.
like this. This is brand new stuff, and we're gonna stay here, keeping you with live updates every day as much as possible, so that the people, could have the real news. We need the power to be put back into people's hands by Bitcoin. And I also wanted to see
Mm.
what was a big reason for the crash, though, the petrodollar crashing, because it seems as though like the price of oil crashed almost before the economy crashed. And I don't know if I'm correct on that, but that's what I noticed.
Um, they happened at about the same time. The oil price war, from what I understand, began first, and I believe that the Russians actually pulled the trigger on that. The Russians, I do not actually think are. I think they're aligned with our interests for reasons that I need to continue to look into. But the Russians are actually aligned with our interests, and they're one of the largest oil producing countries too. But the I'm convinced that this coronavirus is a bioweapon, and what it's designed to do is to um, it's designed to halt global trade and expose the weaknesses in the West's economy.
Right.
So
And it has.
um, it has, and I think it's going to continue to.
Yeah.
But it's also an excuse.
Right.
And now that certain um, companies, retailers know that they're going to be receiving bailout money from the federal government, they're going to be more likely to um, they're going to be more likely to close up shop because they know they're going to get bailed out.
They know they're going to get bailed out, and that's what's happened
Hmm.
past and past that time again. And it's kind of scary because you realize that the dollars be the money that we have is becoming worthless because everybody expects this bailout. Airline companies, no one's flying anywhere right now. Countries are in lockdown. There is no more travel. I looked up plane tickets, like everyone knows, they've plummeted. Cruise lines, no one's going on vacation, no one's going on cruises.
Hmm.
Like their businesses are plummeting. I feel bad for the for the small business owners. It- Everybody's stuck in their house. How, if you got to pay, if you're practically living paycheck to paycheck to run your business, even to provide for yourself, how are you going to survive this period?
Hmm.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, a lot of countries that rely heavily on tourism, like Spain, um, you know, they're definitely hurting right now.
No travel. You can't even get to Italy. Can't leave Italy. It's crazy.
So one thing affects another, and the more things that slow down, the more things that slow down.
Yeah, I'm in
You know.
yeah. And so me personally, I was working at two restaurants. I was busting my butt out there, working really hard, making pretty good tips. It was just about to be hot season. It's just about to be bread making time. And
Hmm.
my job a few days ago was like, hey, we'll let you know before we hear something about it's going to close. And then yesterday or the day before, the government, South Carolina came out. The South Carolina government came out and said we are closing all dine-in options. I got an email. All
Uh-huh.
front of house workers are let off. We don't know how long. Nobody knows how long that, and we're going to be jobless. Nobody knows how long we won't be able to go out into public to dine and eat. And that's very alarming for myself. I have to pay my bills. How do you pay your bills when you just lose both your jobs? I'm desperately searching for another job right now. I'm looking for a little like side jobs on Craigslist. Craigslist is a good place for side jobs. If you have a truck, you could help move people. You could help haul off trash. I also heard in Columbia and Greenville, the Amazon warehouses right now, because of the influctuation in demand from Amazon, they're hiring warehouse workers to package and move boxes for $17 an hour now. That's a pretty good number, and that's until April 30th. They guarantee that pay wage. So for fellow servers out there, try to work first. I mean, I understand going to apply for unemployment. That sounds good. I've got a long vacation, but we're hard workers. We're Americans. Let's get out there. Let's figure out what we could do. Let's fill in the needs. I also heard Target was hiring. I bet you Walmart's in a very big fluctuation as well. Lowe's, all home repair centers. We do have options. So get out there because, I mean, we're going to have to do it. We got to pay our bills. We got to survive. And we will survive. I promise you that. We will thrive.
So after the Great Recession in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest sectors of the economy that grew was service industry. So, you know, waiters and bartenders and things like that. These are the people who are going to be, you know, like restaurants and stuff. These are the people who are going to be staying home for a little while now. And what Trump has tried to do since he took office is he has
One
tried to
second.
ramp up
Get a
manufacturing
call.
again.
Okay, I was on the phone. Are you still here? Okay, I'm coming here now. Bye. Hey, I'll be right back. 1 second.
Hmm.
Sorry. My bad, bro.
You could.
Totally forgot I had pizza coming. I've been locked in my house.
Oh, look at you. Um. So, hey, let me get a slice.
All right, hold up. I'm gonna hand it over right now. Ooh.
Mm,
I ordered pepperoni.
what's that? Domino's?
Yeah, bro. We're out here
So,
promoting Domino's. I know you're the Pizza Hut man, aren't you?
oh,
Like
it's all
dissed on
about
me.
the Pizza Hut. No, it's all about the Pizza Hut. So, but part of the problem is, getting back to what we're talking about, was a lot of these jobs aren't necessarily producing anything. So what Trump has tried to do in his first 3 years, he's tried to ramp up manufacturing in the United States.
Right.
He's known that this crisis was coming, and so right now he has to be dishonest. He has to keep confidence in the market, and so he can't allow people to panic. He has to keep the market as confident as possible because we are in a debt war with China. So, but a lot of these people who are going to be going home temporarily, and not just service sector, retail, and all these things, some people are going to end up going back to work relatively soon, and some people won't. You know, we don't know how high the unemployment rate is going to go. You had mentioned, I think you mentioned unemployment. Google searches for unemployment benefits apparently um, have been increasing significantly. Yeah, there's a lot of traffic for unemployment benefits right now.
They were saying
I
once.
haven't looked it up, but
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see. I want everybody to understand, like, Chan, like, you understand that the government giving out, okay, dropping interest rates to zero,
Mm-hmm.
announcing over $1 trillion in stimulus, $700 billion in QE. There's $1 trillion in repo operations going on every day. Giving every American a check for whatever, $1,000, $2,000. Does everybody understand that that's desperation? That is desperation. And I'm looking
To
forward to
stimulate the
getting my
market.
check. I'm gonna convert mine straight into Bitcoin.
Me too. Bitcoin, baby.
I do not have any faith in the dollar whatsoever. The war that we're fighting, you know, I've been saying it's a debt war. It is a debt war. It is a global war, and the primary weapon being utilized is debt. But it's a
Explain
currency
that.
war.
Explain that more. I was wondering. I was going to ask you. You said it's a debt war between China and the United States mostly.
Hmm.
Which is, yeah. Is that a big
Um, yeah. Um, it's a debt war, and right now, what the United States is doing is we are um, we are pumping massive amounts of new debt into the economy while we hyperinflate the currency. So, you know, a lot of people, and we've been conditioned to be very, very reliant on the government. Everybody's always expecting the government's going to step in, and the government will provide some assistance as much as it can.
right?
But what people don't understand is the government cannot reinflate this bubble without hyperinflating away the purchasing power of the US dollar right now. The Chinese know that, and the Chinese are trying to take out the US dollar as the world reserve currency. And quite frankly, my money's on Team Bitcoin.
Let's go.
I don't believe I don't believe there'll be a gold standard. We'll revalue a world currency using gold. That may be what the Chinese have in mind. I'm not sure. Um, the IMF has their special drawing rights, and I'm sure they have some sort of model in place, some sort of plan in place. Um, I don't think either the Chinese or the Western countries, I don't think that either one of those plans are necessarily going to work out the way that they. I think the soundest currency on the face of the planet is naturally going to become mass adopted. That
Right.
currency is Bitcoin.
Yep.
That is my opinion.
Yep.
That's where most of my money is in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I believe in silver. I definitely believe in gold. Um,
Precious metals.
but mhm.
That stuff's just not going to vanish overnight,
but
you know.
the U.S. dollar, if this the federal government is now sending helicopter money into the economy,
Ooh.
so people need to be very smart with the decisions they make with that money.
Got to.
So,
Got to. And then also, I thought it was funny. Um, Donald Trump, when he was running for presidency, he spoke. I'm pretty sure you have it on your Twitter, Mark, about him saying that
mm,
the U.S. economy is in a major bubble. And then we see him in the
what
last
big
few
fat ugly
months,
bubbly he said.
one big fat ugly bubble. And then for the last 6 months, the market has been hitting all-time highs, and he's been riding the coattail of how amazing this market is. And we got to remember, man, what goes up must gonna come down. This was inevitable. And I also think it's funny if you look to into it, not a lot of people know actually how Donald Trump made all of his fortunes, but people call him the king of debt. He
Hmm.
manipulated his debt to
He
make
ran
him
on it.
millions. He ran on debt to
He
create
ran
a
on it when he was running for
empire.
president. Yep.
And what's even funnier now to me, I made the little connection that this is a debt war, and the king of debt is pretty much waging it, or one of the top fighters, President
He
America.
is the man for he's the man for the hour. Donald Trump is the man for the hour.
Let's hope
And
so.
I do not believe there'll be a transition of power next January. I think that President Trump will be reelected again. Um, I thought if some downturn like this happened, that a downturn in the economy was the only thing that was able to threaten Donald Trump's reelection, in my opinion. Um, Even still, because this is such a crisis, and I think ultimately the American people are going to decide this is the man that we want steering the ship of state as we go through this this war with China, this debt war with China.
It's terrifying to think about because the flu comes out every spring and every fall. So I'm not like, what if people can't go vote? You know, this
I
is
was wondering that.
what
I
if
was
people
wondering
can't
how
go
much this
vote?
is going to affect voting. Hmm.
Like, what if we can't vote? You know, that's a huge thing, man, because this is the first wave. We will be dealing with this, and it will only get serious as time goes on. It will only evolve and get stronger. I was listening to a lady she's a scientist in a medical laboratory, and she works on disease control. And she's saying that we, even at best, we will not receive a functional, efficient vaccine for at least 18 months. That's a year and a half. And what's going to happen is this spring, it's because you have to do all these tests. They just started testing, but you don't know the short term, the midterm, the long term. You could be killing off people at a much more high rate by thinking you solve something that's less deadly than what you're giving them. It's very serious, cause for concern.
Hmm.
And what's going to happen is that after this first wave, once summer comes in, May and June, it's going to stop spreading and it'll go away. But then come what, October, September, October, it's going to hit again, worse. And that's
I don't
not,
know. I don't know much about the actual virus. I am convinced it is a bioweapon.
it's a flu strand. It's based off the flu, just like the flu. The flu is prominent during the spring and fall seasons.
Hmm.
That's when people get the flu the most. That's when the flu shot is most rampantly distributed to Americans and to the world. But
Now, the
I'm
thing that gets me is because this is a form of warfare, people need to understand that. I do not believe that the United States and China are going to go to head-to-head combat, just like the United States and the Soviet Union never ended up actually having combat. They had all these different proxy wars. I see that happening between the United States and China, like in Iran. Um, but what other countries have been planning this for years? I know a very interesting guy to listen to is Jim Rickards. He used to do war simulations for the U.S. government, and he would do currency war simulations where they would play out scenarios to see, okay, what happens if this country dumps their gold, and what happens when this country, does this and Russia does that. And the government has been knowing about this for years, if not decades, and not just our government, all governments. So what other, um, in a time of war, where the only reason we don't go to a head-to-head military conflict is because of mutually assured destruction. It's not in either party's interest to have a hot war. What other weapons, if you will, are going to be utilized? That's something I'm concerned about. But time will tell.
Well,
That's the primary. That is the primary weapon that is being used.
and also on the idea this is a bioweapon, biowarfare, we also must remember that in the last 6 months to a year, or maybe even more than this, fentanyl became running rampant,
Mm-hmm.
and overdoses have been occurring way more at a much productive rate than ever before. And I'm not saying China created fentanyl. I'm saying you can order fentanyl from China for a very, very
Mm-hmm.
low price, enough to kill a city, and it'll come straight to your doorstep. It's
We
just
have reason to believe that the Chinese are making fentanyl um, readily available to the United States population, um, which is what the British did to the Chinese back in the nineteenth century with opium. It is a form of warfare to weaken a population, and you know, that is one way you do it.
and then I'm also thinking that there's stuff going on with the information systems as well. I don't know what it is, but with
Hmm.
technology and with the internet, you have a lot of hackers on both sides, and they're doing some. We're like there's warfare between us and Russia. We saw that the information from the last election, and I mean you can't really put your thumb on any of it because it's all in the web, in the cloud. You can't really. It's hard to tell what's even happening
This is
behind
an
the scenes.
information war too.
Right.
All wars are information wars. And one
That's
of the
right.
problems, or one of the additional challenges to governments today, is that it's so much more difficult to keep the general public in the dark. Information is just it's so much more widely available,
Right.
especially with the birth of social media and things like that. The internet, of course. Um, it's it's more difficult for governments to act effectively and secretly, if that makes any sense. Right, wrong, or indifferent, regardless of what they're doing is right or wrong or necessary or unnecessary.
Right.
Um, it involves so there's information warfare, there's biological warfare, financial warfare, everything but direct military confrontation, because it's not in either party's interest. Nobody, everybody knows that everybody would lose that kind of confrontation.
Yeah. Yeah. We have nukes that'll blow up practically major cities, the whole entire major city, and with like our weaponry is way too powerful to go to all that warfare. If you think people would be freaking out, imagine if a nuke hit, it would be done. And it just
Hmm.
the world would be in uproar.
No,
And
I tend to not think that's gonna happen. I mean, I
I don't
guess it
think so.
could, but I don't see that happening.
Me neither.
But I definitely see a worldwide depression. I think we're already there, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I think it'll become apparent in about a week or two. We will
Mm-hmm.
be in a full blown depression, and people might not know it at the time, because again, this is all being done under this is all temporary kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like when Richard Nixon closed the gold window, he was temporarily uh, halting the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Well, if you mean temporary by 50 years, then okay. So, um, to those who have any eyes to see, a week or two from now, it'll be obvious we're in a depression.
Right.
More companies will get bailed out, and the government will have to come clean about it at some point. We'll probably blame the virus, and from there on out, it's damage control. It's
Right.
damage control. We're so over leveraged on debt.
Hmm. And I implore everybody to start investing into cryptocurrency. It's a way that the superinflated dollar will be consumed by the cryptocurrency. It's decentralized. You're able to transfer it to anywhere in the world practically instantaneously for very low fees. You could travel with it and not worry about being stolen by any means necessary. And you're able to
No
convert it.
confiscation.
No confiscation, and you're able to convert it into any currency almost immediately, no matter where you are in the world. So, I mean, those are just a few strong points. You look into blockchain technology, you could tell it's written to be a savior for humanity. And during this time, we need a savior. We need something to look up to. But all I can say is there's hope coming. We as Americans are very hardworking. We're dedicated. We get the job done no matter what it is. So, like I said, I threw out a few places. If you are without work right now, don't go don't go immediately to government aid. Let it be your last means necessary. I'm not looking down on anybody who has government aid. I'm just saying there are still options out there, and if there aren't for you personally, then yes, hopefully the government will help you and look into that. But like I said again, there's Amazon, there's grocery shops, Publix, Target, Walmart. There's pizza delivery places, a lot of delivery still going on. So there are still spurts in the economy that places are making money and doing well. And if you're thinking about investing, like I said, great time is cryptocurrency. Also, um, I guess for short gains, maybe internet providers, um, and streaming services, and video game designers. I feel like that'd be really huge during this while everybody's on lockdown for short gains. But long term, Bitcoin is the best, hands down. You got to do it
Hmm.
before it's too late.
I believe in, and I put my money where my mouth is. I believe in holding physical cash, physical
Right.
silver, and precious metals, Bitcoin, um, and making sure you have, you know, a month or two's worth of necessities available.
Right.
I've had 6 months of toilet paper put away for years. I've known this has been coming, so I'm good on that front. I came off as paranoid or whatever. I knew this was coming. Water purifiers, what you can get 20 water purifiers for 20-30 bucks. Purify your water back. The things you take camping with you, the backpack water purifiers. Just keep on hand. We don't
Right.
know. It's you want to be able to you want to eat. You want to have clean water. I've got a I've bought you know uh, bars of soap. I've kept many packs of bars of soap on hand. Just things like that. You want to be ready. It doesn't mean
Yep.
you panic. It means you
No.
have a plan. You have a plan. You're less likely to panic.
Right.
So
Yeah, you got a plan. Someone told me that those little butane gas stove, um, butane stoves, you take camping just in case. It's good to have. You could cook with it. You could boil water with it. Man,
hmm
if you could boil water, you could make yourself a lot of food. And then you have canned goods. You have things that can last you for a while. I don't foresee this being like a end of the world scenario. I don't foresee this be lasting more than 3 to 6 months, but I think we got a pretty tough 2020 ahead of us, in means of economical, in means of health, and in means of just America as a whole, as a country, because um, they've been separating us politically for a while. and the worst is yet to come. Election season's right around the corner. You know, there's all this crazy stuff going on, but it's like there's still a lot more craziness this year has to offer, and we've got to be prepared mentally and physically, and honestly, spiritually. So, gotta keep in communication with your loved ones and continue to spread love around the world, because that's, I know that doesn't put your food on the table, but it definitely provides hope. I remember a story from a concentration camp. There's these two men that would give the last of their rations to some of the elderly women and children in the camps, and they would do it with a smile and sing. And I read about it in a book, um, a biography, and they said that energy and that positivity gave hope that actually saved lives. So sometimes
Mm-hmm.
giving up is the worst thing to do, especially in a time of need. You got to be strong.
In a way, I think actually there will be a lot of positives that come out of this. I think, well, no one welcomes a crisis except really narcissistic people. Um, I think that crises like this will bring people together. I
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's a shame that it's such a controversial thing. I am a supporter of the president, and I'm really hoping that um, a number of people with wisdom. This is not about supporting all the president's policies or anything like that. He is the American president, and people need to understand the gravity of the situation right now and support him. You don't have to think he's got a great personality or that he's a perfect man or anything like that. It's not what I'm saying. This is a time for us to stand divided. Excuse me, stand united and pick our
Right.
battles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And he did not create this mess. He did. Some are arguing a lot of. There's a lot of criticism from people who are aware of the situation. There's a lot of criticism of the president for hyperinflating this bubble and everything else. Look, Trump has so far, in my opinion, proven himself to be chief negotiator. Excuse me, and he's been able to get NATO members to um, increase their payments, not increase their payments to what they had originally promised to pay. A percentage of contribution based off of how much their GDP is that they were underpaying, that the United States was footing the bill. He has gotten the many European countries to contribute more. He was able to negotiate in that way. Um, he was able to negotiate a trade deal between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And quite frankly, what has Trump done knowing this crisis was going to occur? He's known. He has, with a dying currency, he's rebuilt the United States military. That's a bargaining chip. Um, he has done everything he can to bring manufacturing jobs specifically back to the United States. Because when this crisis happens, manufacturing is a very important aspect of the economy. And again, I'm not here to defend the president or anything. I mean, I don't believe you should worship any human being. I mean, he's just he's the leader of the country right now. And in my opinion, he needs the support. He needs the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. This is a crisis, and I would be willing to bet you he's not getting a whole lot of sleep right now. I've never seen him when I really started to figure out what was going on when I was in Orlando about a week ago. Um, that was the first time I really saw him sleep.
It froze a little bit.
Oh yeah,
You're back. It froze for like a few minutes.
a few minutes.
The last words you said when I was in Orlando.
Oh yeah, well when I was in Orlando, I noticed how much um, I could tell the president is tired. This is keeping him up at night. I guarantee it. This is a global financial meltdown that he's overseeing.
It
So
should.
I guarantee you he's tired. But Um,
It's all good. Everything is. We might go down a little bit more. Maybe the worst is yet to come. But all I know, in a few weeks to a couple months, it's coming up, man. It's gonna be
mhm.
good. It will be good. I
um,
promise you.
I, I think I think we've only begun to see the carnage. I think we have only begun to see the carnage. But over the next few days, I would like to talk more. We
Yeah.
can keep people posted and keep the discussion going and more
Right.
things on foot. History is occurring rapidly right now. So much is occurring every single day in the
And we
world.
got to record it. We got to talk. That's why we need feedback too from everybody who's watching. Ask
Hmm.
questions. We want to answer your questions. We want to be as honest as we can about all the world events. We stay very up to date with news from all around the world from first person view. It's about time to
Hmm.
put the media back in the hands of the people and stop listening to main media and start listening to everyday humans. That's who know the facts.
Decentralized information
Right.
via projects like LBRY, which is a cryptocurrency that I need to learn more about, but their intention is very good. It's like a decentralized information sharing network and decentralized currency,
Right.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
Decentralization of power.
Bitcoin.
Decentralization of power. Power back in the hands of the people.
Power
Uh,
to
the
the people. Woo.
I heard that before.
You heard that
I
before?
think I have. I think that the future is very promising, but there's going to be some pain. There's going to be some short-term pain. We're transitioning into a new system,
Every
but the future is
transitionary
the
stage
future has never been more promising.
has pain. You're right.
So,
The world is ours. The world is ours. Well, much love to everybody out there. We'll be back
hmm
probably tomorrow, the next day. We'll keep you guys updated. Continue to tune in because we're very dedicated about the show. We love you all, and we're gonna put our wallets addresses in the comments. And if you'd like to donate to keep the show going, we'd love it. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon, Mark. We'll talk.
talk to you
Bye.
soon, man.
Bye bye.